Boom. Welcome back to the channel. We're doing an update on Paradox Rift today. I think this is one of the best buys in Scarlet and Violet right now. And if you want to find out why, stay tuned. So sit back, relax, and welcome to PokeMarketLab. All right, folks, let's get into it. Paradox Rift 16-month update here, released on November 2nd in 2023. Crazy that this is marching towards 2 years already here. This is this set is probably one of my favorites here in Scarlet and Violet era. This is when I was this set was, you know, the market really wasn't looking at this set at the time, and I saw it come out. I'm like, oh, Scarlet and Violet's gonna be good. Like, this was when, like, Paldea Evolve was okay, Obsidian Flames was okay, 151 of course is 151, but when Paradox Rift came out, I was like, oh, it's on. That's when I was really starting to, you know, market was down at the time, boxes were cheap, and I just started buying. I just got to look at the cards, and that's what we're going to do today. There are some phenomenal cards in this set, but as we always do, let's get started with box updates. Pokemon Center ETBs. Depending which one you're looking at here, there's two different versions of artwork on the box here. They're going to range between $99 and $108. So some of the cheaper, I dare say cheap, not really cheap for an ETB, but some of the cheaper Pokemon Center ETBs. The promos in here have done well from a financial standpoint. I don't love them. There's certainly better promos. They're okay. Screamtail's okay. But again, either box going around $100 here. There's not many of these on the market. They're not selling well at this price, but there's, I mean, one of the listings here, and I can't remember which box this is, but there's only 20 listed on TCG Player. So as the rest of the Pokemon Center ETBs have done, these will continue to go up. I do not love the coloring and the artwork on the boxes. I'm not super fans of the promo, but they're okay. They're going to do the same thing that the other Pokemon Center boxes do. So if you've not gotten any Pokemon Center boxes, or you like Paradox Rift, or you like the artwork on this box, this is going to do what the rest of them have done, which is go up in value. All right, looking at the individual promos here. So the Screamtail sitting at $51, and Iron Bundle sitting at $40. I would choose the Screamtail any day here. Screamtail has done 75% return in the last few months. There's only 10 of those cards listed on TCG Player. That's wildly. That's why the price is up. It's an okay card, but there's just not a lot of these. No one's opening those boxes. I do think some of the earlier Scarlet and Violet Pokemon Center ETBs were pretty lightly printed. I think that the demand was just pretty low at the time. Remember, we were coming from an era in Sword and Shield where they just weren't. I don't think they were heavily produced. There was no reason. They just were not super duper popular. I mean, there was a period of time where you could get multiple sets worth of Pokemon Center ETBs on the Pokemon Center website. They just were not selling out like they do now. They sell out on pre-order day, right? That's it. They're gone. Iron Bundle at 40, up 50%. Again, only 12 listed on TCG Player. So if you like these, they're pricey, and they carry a massive premium. The stamped versions of these carry a massive premium versus the regular promos. So if you like the card, get the regular one because it's a lot cheaper. If you have to have the Pokemon Center version, you're running out of time because these are just gonna keep going up. There's really few available, and no one is gonna open these boxes when they're over $100 to put more of these into the market. And on to the regular ETBs, sitting at a pretty healthy $60, about 60 for either of these. These are disappearing. There's less than 100 on either listing, I believe, on TCG Player. So technically it's double that because, again, you know, there's two different types of boxes, two different listings on TCG Player. But the point being that the sell volume in these is really good, and people are starting to do what they've been doing on Sword and Shield, which is pretty much drying up the earlier Scarlet and Violet ETBs. We see it with Obsidian Flames, which is pushing up against 100. It might be close to that now. SV Base, Paldea, and now Paradox and Temporal are starting to go up, right? The thought is that these are probably getting further enough away from a reprint risk that people aren't going to touch them. And the other part is the booster boxes are getting expensive, right? So if you want exposure to some of these sets, this is the way to do it versus paying above MSRP now for any booster box from earlier Scarlet and Violet. So everyone's kind of collecting these. And everyone's assuming, and maybe rightfully so at this point, that we're not going to get reprints on ETBs from earlier Scarlet and Violet. We've not really seen a lot of them. I've seen more Sword and Shield ETBs get restocked at Target and Walmart in the last 6 months than I have on early Scarlet and Violet ETBs. Again, that's not to say we won't get a massive dump. But again, we've talked about this before. I keep beating the dead horse. There's so many things that need to be reprinted. I would be cautious as things start getting expensive. Like Obsidian Flames is $100 in ETB. That's a little rich for me. For a box that maybe gets reprinted. Again, I'm not saying it will, but I would say the booster box has a much lower possibility of getting reprinted there versus the ETBs. The ETBs are very easy to produce. It's what they've typically go to reprint things. But again, the other thing is maybe they just go back to the market and reprint booster bundles and they leave the ETBs alone, right? We've seen them do that with multiple sets. So reprint risk is it's not definitive. Anyone who tells you it is lying to you. So just again, I think $60 is fair for these if you have to have them, if you want to get a piece of the set. Booster boxes aren't terribly expensive. We're going to go over that in a second here as well. So return on these about 57% in the last few months. These were really, really cheap for a long period of time. The individual promos here, non-stamp promos, Screamtail and Iron Bundle are super cheap. $5 for the Screamtail and $3 for Iron Bundle. On to the booster box. So booster box sales are very strong here on the discount day for Pokemon Day here, the massive discount, huge sales, so massive spike there. That certainly helped. This is how crazy the market is. I started working on these slides last night. I'm finishing it up here on Saturday morning. And within that time period, the market price went from $65 to almost $180. So very strong sales on this set here. So my data is a little bit out of sync. I ran out of time to go back and update it, but that's how crazy the market is. 39% return on this box in the last few months. This is still, and I'm going to prove this out to you, a very, very, very good deal in Scarlet and Violet. Maybe one of the best booster box deals for the cards that are in it. This is a very solid set. It does not have a massive chase card, but it has a lot of very, very solid cards at the $10 to $15 to $20 range. All right, on to booster box comps. Paradox Rift sitting at $165. Again, a 39% return in the last few months. Again, my data's a little out of sync. It's about $175, I think, right now. Temporal, $179. That's kind of the sister set to Paradox Rift. They're kind of in the same block there. And they kind of leapfrog each other a little bit as they climb. Another phenomenal set in Temporal. 30% return in the last few months. Twilight doing monster things at $231, 49% return in the last few months, and Stellar, $186, $50, 54% return in the last few months. Let's look at total set value now. This is the total value, the market value of every card in the set, just added up. That's all. Paradox at $1,147, Temporal at an almost even $1,024, Twilight at $1,293, and Stellar still struggling there at $567. And so now we're going to look at value. So a comparison of this set value versus the booster box right now. So higher is better. That means you're getting more card value for the set for the booster box price as it is right now. So looking at that, Paradox Rift blowing the others away, meaning it is still an affordable box, a ton of value for what the box price is. Again, this is going to be a little off because my number was my booster box number was a little off this morning here, but it's still a good buy. I think if you can get it at under 180, it is a great set. Again, I'm going to show you some of the card art here. It's a beautiful, beautiful set. Stellar is super expensive compared to this, much higher on the list of potential reprints. Twilight is extremely good, but it's the breadth of cards, the gallery of cards is much narrower. You get the Greninja, right? So there's two sides of that coin. Having a big chase is really important, but it's important to have other cards there as well down the value chain, which we're going to look at in a second here. Temporal is very much like Paradox Rift. Again, lots of affordable cards that bring ton of value. So when you're opening a box or you're opening an ETB or a booster bundle, there's lots of little hits. And I cannot tell you how important that is. It's important to have a chase. We have that with Paradox in the ground on, right? But it's important to have some other stuff that just brings the heat, that's just fun to open. It keeps you opening the product versus a prismatic where it's, I gotta hit a top card. I got to hit a top card or I'm having a bad day. And with these sets here that you see on screen, it's much, much cheaper. Paradox Rift, we're going to see in the value chain here, which we'll show you right now. The top 20 cards by value. This is what we want to see. This is beautiful. This is not as good as an Evolving Skies, right? Where you have this massive spike in one card, right? Twilight, we're going to show you here in a second with a comparison. You have a great chase card, which is phenomenal. but you want other value, and this is what we want. This is going to, I have had fun opening Paradox. People are going to remember having fun opening Paradox. I had a short I made not long ago of opening a Steelix in a Paradox Rift pack, right? Just one pack. Not a $100 card, but a solid $25 to $35 card. That is the stuff. That's what we want, okay? So we have Groudon here at the top here. We have Altaria, Roaring Moon, Garchomp, Steelix. Again, all these really good cards. Look at how many cards are over $20 right now. It's this set has benefited greatly from the singles run, and there's just really good artwork. There's so many cards. We're gonna look at them here. So many beautiful cards, really solid cards. And look, even below 20, right? This is typically you'll see this start to drop off towards the $5-6 range very quickly. This holds up very nicely. And let's compare it to some other sets here. So those 4 sets we comped earlier, we have Paradox Rift, Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, and Stellar Crown. So obviously in the green here, we have Twilight Masquerade. Really solid. You got a group, the Greninja's just done amazingly well. And there's a few other really solid cards here. But again, it kind of drops off quickly. There's even some of these cheaper spots here where Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift do better than Twilight Masquerade. So again, this is not a Twilight Masquerade set, and that's reflected in the booster box price. But I think this should be a $200 box, based on what we're seeing here. This holds up very well. The cards I think are going to continue to climb because there's so many really good cards, all the way down through the $5 level. All right, let's look at the top 3 cards of value in the set. Groudon sitting at $102, Altaria at $68, and Roaring Moon at $60. Groudon's a 55% return in the last 3 months, Altaria 100% return, and Roaring Moon at a 6% return in the last month. This Roaring Moon is undervalued. I think we've got less than 100 copies on TCG Player. I think that one is ready to run, and some good sales volume here, actually selling better than the Groudon in the last few months. So really solid start to the top 3 cards in the set. And let's go into the next top 3 cards. Garchomp, Steelix, and Iron Valiant. Again, I love that Steelix. I think it's a beautiful card. Garchomp at 43, Steelix at 35, and Iron Valiant at 35. 17% return on the Garchomp. That chart's a little jacked up, so I think that return's actually higher. We're missing some data here in that chart. Steelix, beautiful, 59% return in the last few months. Look at that sell volume there. And Iron Valiant, $35, 17% return in the last few months. So again, some really good, beautiful cards. Again, I love that Steelix. That was awesome pulling that card. And again, I think these continue to go up as people realize there's some really good cards in this set. Some honorable mentions. Again, just open TCG Player and go to page 2, go to page 3. There's still value there. There's still beautiful cards, some really cool artwork here. They just really kind of seems like they just gave their artists just give us the funkiest stuff you can come up with. We got Goldengo up here, which I have one of those. I love that card. $26 card. Brute Bonnet's done really well in the last few months, up 341%. Just a really cool, funky, abstract piece of art. Loudred, another card. My binder's full of cards from Paradox Rift. Loudred sitting at $13. Monster, actually that I copied that from Brute Bonnet, so I do not know the return on that, but still really solid cards. Minior, 95% return in the last few months, sitting at $15. Esparthra, really cool. Look at that artwork on that. Oh, just beautiful. Sitting at $10, and Veluza at $8. And again, this just continues on. Again, you go through page after page after page. And again, this is all subjective. I personally keep seeing cards that just like, wow, that's cool. Wow, that's cool. Wow, that's cool. And again, I think based on what I'm seeing in the market in terms of card growth, I think the market agrees with that. All right, so we're here wrapping it up. What do you think I think of the set? I think I've probably, glowed pretty positively about the set. I think it's a great set. I think it's solid. I don't think it's a Twilight Masquerade. I don't think it's a Surging Sparks. I just think it's a really solid set, and I think it's undervalued. I think this is a solid B+ to me. I think even after doing this and putting this together, this is not just, some of this is things I already know, but when we go through this process, this kind of changes how I look at it too, right? It's like, wow, this is really an undervalued box for what it is. So I think I'm actually going to try to pick up a couple boxes around the $165 point. I have a bunch that I was getting under $100 when no one wanted it. But I want to get a couple more boxes just to have away, maybe something to open, maybe a couple ETBs at that price, maybe open them. Because I've had really fun, again, just having multiple dozens, essentially, of really good, solid cards that feel good to open, I think is super important. So Reprint risk. This is really hard to answer. No one can answer it, but we can speculate here. I think I'm going to call it medium for the ETB and medium for the booster box. Again, I think if we start seeing, the big thing is if we start seeing reprints, because we know there's reprints, we know they're doing reprints, we just really haven't seen them in any kind of massive quantity. So we don't know if that means that we're going to get dumped on, or if they're just taking a softer approach to it. We really don't know. If we see lots of other reprints suddenly hit the market, so meaning an influx of reprints, wherever that may be, that could be a signal. If they don't touch Paradox at that point, that could be a signal that Paradox is maybe safe from reprints. So maybe at that point, you know, you kind of give yourself a blessing to pick up more. Again, I think, as always, the booster box is going to carry a smaller risk of reprint. I think ETB is much easier to reprint for them. They might leave the booster box alone because, you know, to kind of keep it that premium product. I don't know. So just be careful. But again, this is a solid set. This is what we want as investors. We want to buy solid sets. This is a solid set, I think. So to me, I'm okay. I'm okay buying this at MSRP, close to MSRP prices today. I'm actually okay paying 170 for this today. I typically don't chase things, but again, this is a solid set. I would rather have this. I'd rather have this at $200 a box than Journey Together all day. Hot take. Booster box, 12-month target. Again, I think this should be $200. I think that's reflected in the value that we showed earlier, right? The total value, the value ratio of the booster box price to the total value of the cards in the set. I think this absolutely should be about $200, and I think it's going to get there. And again, that Paradox Rift and Temporal, they're kind of sister sets. They're going towards that mark. But again, you know, what's weird is we're seeing things like Stellar get closer to 100, 200 versus Paradox Rift, and Paradox Rift is absolutely, I think, the better set. So, and I think this could go, if the market goes crazy. I think I threw 350 in there. It's supposed to be 250, but again, I think if the rest of the market keeps going up, I think there's no reason it won't drag Paradox Rift with it. So that's my set update on Paradox Rift. It's a great set. Hopefully you think so too. Hopefully you like the video. We'll come back to the set in a few months and see how it's doing. And that's it for today. So if you like what we're doing, of course, give us, turn on notifications, subscribe, like the video. That really, really helps. And if you really love what we're doing, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the video and the update on Paradox Rift. We will see you next time. PokeMarketLab out.